All right, I'm here with the live action team. I want to introduce everybody really quick. We'll start at the end. Devin, you want to?
Yes. So I'm Devin, and I oversee our marketing and social media here at Live Action. It's an absolute honor. So.
I'm Christina, and I am a news correspondent.
I'm Savannah, and I work as a marketing intern.
My name is Gabe, and I'm on the content team.
And I'm Joseph, the Chief Operating Officer. So you have a good chunk of the live action team here, and we have a few questions about Standing for Life and what that looks like in a pro-choice world, really. So we're just going to answer a handful of these questions that we wrote down. We have a lot of different perspectives here, which is awesome, different life experiences, and so eager to jump into it. The first one is, how can I personally stand for life? So I know there's a lot of folks out there who are maybe learning a lot about the pro-life issue, the pro-life cause. They want to be more involved. They want to figure out how they can personally be more involved and stand for life. So this first one, I don't have anybody specific in mind to answer it, but if anybody's jumping at it, Christina, it looks like you have some thoughts.
Sure. So when I first got started in the pro-life movement, when I was in my early 20s, I was given some wisdom from a leader who said, follow your tears. And he was talking to me about understanding what causes me to cry, what breaks my heart, what I feel compassionate about. At the time, that was prayer. So I ended up moving to Washington, D.C. and praying in front of the Supreme Court for years, praying for Roe versus Wade to be overturned. Thankfully, that prayer was answered. But we all have different passions, even when it comes to the pro-life cause. Some people may be feeling more called to work at a pregnancy resource center. Some people may feel called to marketing or media or doing sidewalk advocacy, standing outside of abortion clinics and talking to women as they're going in, maybe going into foster care work or adoption. So take some time to process what really causes you to be angry, what causes you to cry, what do you feel really passionate about. Look at your skill set, look at what you can actually do, what are you good at, what are you skilled at, what's around you, what's in your community. You might want to do something, but perhaps it's not really possible because you don't have that kind of organization nearby you. So consider what's important to you, what moves your heart, look at your skills, look at what's in your community, and then just start, just do something. I always say that as long as you're doing something, that's the most important thing. And then as the years pass, maybe you'll go into different types of work, but just start somewhere.
Yeah, I think the key is just start. And so you might not have everything together. You might not have all the talking points and might not know how to perfectly communicate on this issue. But if you know how to make graphics, make graphics. If you know how to make videos, make videos. You know how to shoot a cell phone piece of content, try that. And so my team actually put together a simple graphic. It was a square graphic. It had a baby on it, and overlaid, it says, I am pro-life. Something really simple. You can make it in Canva or like any of these simple apps. We posted this. A lot of people just shared it, and so that could be you sharing this content. And as a result of that person sharing it, we got a direct message a few weeks later, and someone said, I saw this graphic that said, I am pro-life on it, and this was a sign I needed from God to embrace life for my baby.
Wow.
And so something just that simple, like you could have made that graphic yourself and shared it, and just that witness of just putting it on your Instagram story, your Facebook account, can genuinely save a life. And we've seen it happen time and time again. And so I would just encourage you to be bold for life.
Yeah, I would kind of just echo what both of you said. Sometimes I think that we feel very small in our world. There are so many people. We're like, there are so many abortions that occur every single day, and we wonder if we actually have an influence. But the fact is that each one of us has a sphere of influence, right? Each one of us has people that we talk to, people that we can influence in this way. And like Devin said, social media, is a huge tool. Social media is a huge tool of basically all generations. And if we use it in a way that's for good, if we use it in a way that can spread knowledge, then I think that that's incredibly powerful.
Right.
So I'm just going to warn you that I'm going to be the most boring and repetitive person on this panel. But I hope what I say is simple and effective and helpful. So Live Action has video resources that are extremely effective at changing hearts and minds on abortion. And they're all in one spot. If you go to our YouTube channel and you look up Pro-Life Primer, it's a playlist, Pro-Life Primer. The videos in that playlist are extremely effective at changing hearts and minds, specifically the first 5 videos. And then the rest of the videos in that playlist respond to pretty much every pro-choice objection to the pro-life position. So that is an incredibly valuable resource that you should use right now. You should watch all those videos, get trained, and then those are yours to share. And then definitely tell your pastor about them. And some of the videos are safe to play to your congregation. So specifically, there's a video called Baby Olivia. It's the first video on the playlist. Play that for your congregation. It'll be incredibly powerful. And it's G-rated, safe for, everybody. It doesn't say the A word. So I would really encourage you to play that for
A-word being
everybody.
abortion.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, and then the rest of the videos I would say great to use in a Sunday school class that's specifically talking about standing for life. And I'm probably going to bring up the pro-life primer again in your future questions, just so you get it, because I really think like it is the most powerful tool that we have, and it's yours to use.
We have a pretty sharp team, and just to piggyback on what everybody else is saying, I think the one piece I'd leave for the viewer at home, whether you're sitting in a church pew getting ready to go to Sunday school or youth group or whatever that might be, I think it's to just be bold. It's really easy to be afraid to even talk about this with your friends, with your family. I'm not sure when you're seeing this, but we had Christmas and Thanksgiving not too long ago, and it's easy to be quiet. But I just want to encourage you to be bold. Just talk about it. I'm not this active presence on social media or anything like that, but in my community, at my church, in my family, I speak up as often as I can, and I use the information that I learn at Live Action. We're going to talk a little bit about resources in just a few minutes, but equip, educate yourself, and don't be afraid to speak up. Stand for life. I think that's why you're tuning in here. Don't be afraid to stand for life and take a stand. So thank you all. That was great. And again, you'll hear probably some of the same things from our team. We're really focused, clearly, marketing, getting the word out. We see social media as a huge channel and avenue. If you're not already following Live Action on social media, take the opportunity, see what we're up to and what we're doing, and a lot of what we're talking about today will make even more sense. The next question here, and I want to start with you, Christina, but I definitely want to hear from everybody. And this is getting a little bit more specific to that first question, and that's what things can I do specifically in my community to stand for life? What are some actions I can take in my community?
Go talk to your state elected officials. And Planned Parenthood is always in the Capitol building. They are always lobbying. They are always talking to their elected officials, and they're pressuring them to vote a certain way. And this impacts everything. It impacts legislation in all sorts of different ways. And especially now that Roe is overturned and it's the battle of the states, you really need to know what's going on in your state, especially if you're in a pro-abortion state like I am. So, do you know who your state rep is? Do you know who your state senator is? Do they know you? Talk to them, call them, go into their office, let them know what you care about. And you may be thinking, well, I live in a pro-life state, so abortion is banned. Okay, but perhaps there's other pro-life legislation that could be passed to help mothers, to help women, to help families. And so talk to them about those things. Develop things. Does your state have, safe haven laws where babies can be brought to a hospital or a fire station? Does your state have policies that help, pregnant women so they're making sure that they're not losing their jobs, or they have adequate housing or, shelter and food and all those different things they need to survive? So that's what I would say. Talk to your elected officials.
To jump off of what Christina was saying, another thing you can do in the same vein is find out where and when your city council meetings are, and usually they're bi-weekly, and show up and talk about how you're passionately pro-life. Because for example, in my city, they're bi-weekly. You can go and you can sign up to have 3 minutes and talk to, influential people in your city, and you can talk to them about why you're pro-life. And sometimes you can even show a video, like the videos that are in our pro-life primer playlist on YouTube, which I'm going to keep bringing up, so I'm just warning you.
One other thing I wanted to add is volunteer at your local crisis pregnancy center. And I know that we've been hearing this a lot lately. We've been hearing this a lot because as Roe has been overturned, there are so many more women in need. And these crisis pregnancy centers need us to give a few hours of our time, on a Saturday morning when we could be sleeping in, but we decide to get up and help them with maybe some paperwork, maybe some filing, something like that. That is it's such a beautiful witness, and you make such beautiful connections and you meet the most amazing people. From personal experience, I would definitely say find your local crisis pregnancy center. You can find it by looking on optionline.com. You can just look it up on Google, but you probably have one pretty near to you, and it's definitely worth it to give a few hours of your time every week.
That's awesome. And to piggyback on what everybody else is saying, every community across the country has a group of pro-lifers, just like you, looking to get involved. Find them, reach out to them. You're not alone. You may feel like you're alone. You're not alone. And if you can't find those folks, reach out to us. We've got resources. We've got an ambassadors program where you can work on digital advocacy for us. But in addition to all those things, it's find your local crisis pregnancy center. Get plugged in. Your local 40 Days for Life. I'm not certified. I'm not able to go out and counsel these young women who are discerning abortion. Thank God there are several people in my community who do. But what I do with my family is we go out and we just pray. And just being active in front of these abortion clinics deters women, first of all. Second of all, your prayers in front of these buildings where these lives are being destroyed, it's so powerful, it's so necessary, and that's the one thing I'd want to encourage everybody to do. You could go to 40days.com. You can find folks. There's multiple groups that are out there that'll help you get plugged into your community as well. And then the other thing I just want to leave you with: all of you are attending church each Sunday, and chances are many of your churches aren't talking about this issue. And so whether it's pestering your pastor, your youth pastor, whoever that might be, the best way to be vocal in your community is to have them start talking about this from the pulpit in some capacity. There's all sorts of resources and what you're hearing from Stand for Life that can help equip them, help equip you to do that. But that's such an important piece, a pillar of the community being the church, equipping them, preparing them, encouraging them to stand for life. So any other comments before?
One last thing off what Joseph was saying. If you do feel called to Crisis Pregnancy Council, there are great resources for that. Sidewalk Advocates for Life has an amazing training. It's like 4 hours long. There's a book that goes along with it, and it basically walks you through the steps of how to Crisis Pregnancy Council. And crisis pregnancy counseling, it's not for everyone. It's very heavy. It's very deep. But this is the last line of defense, right? These women are going into the abortion clinic. This is the last moment you have to talk to them and to say, hey, you don't need to do this. We have help available for you. So it's just extremely powerful. I would definitely recommend if you do feel called to it.
A couple things just to add. I think it's really important that every church knows the local pregnancy resource center and vets it and makes sure it's great and knows the resources and is accurate about what they do and what they don't do and what they can provide. And I think one of the keys to sidewalk counseling, as well as just being a presence and praying, is really having the brochures from the Pregnancy Resource Center. And you're not just turning women away from the abortion clinic, you're redirecting them to the Pregnancy Resource Center. Even if you just say something like, look, I know you plan on going to this facility, but please just check out the Pregnancy Resource Center first. Just check it out. Here's the pamphlet. You got to have the little pamphlet that says, please just check out the Pregnancy Resource Center before going here and know your options.
Yeah, because women want that follow-up, right? When they're in this state of crisis, they don't want to just hear you say all these nice things. They need something. They need someone to talk to. The Let Them Live hotline is open 24/7, and that's what I've used a lot of the times, because sometimes the crisis pregnancy centers won't be open exact hours that the abortion clinics are, right? So it doesn't exactly coincide. But if you just look up the Let Them Live hotline online, that's a phone number that's open 24/7 that you can refer these women to.
What on that point, though, one thing that's really important is you talk to your pregnancy resource center and try to get them open at the same time that the abortion clinic is open. It's really important. And if the pregnancy resource center is not open at the same time as the abortion clinic,
great opportunity to volunteer.
Right.
And on all that too, one thing that I want to make sure, and it's such an important part of what we do at Live Action, is ensuring there are resources available. We have resources at Live Action. You've heard a bunch of them. The abortion pill reversal. If you're out there, make sure you know that phone number, whether you're just praying or whether you're ready and prepared to be counseling. But letting these women know that you can reverse the abortion pill if you take it in between the first and the second, and that's another great resource to make sure you're equipped with. So, any other thoughts before we move on to the next question? Awesome. You can tell what inspires us and gets us activated here. So the third one here is, what are the best resources? Gabe, I'm going to go to you with this one. What are the best resources to equip myself as a pro-lifer? And feel free to touch on what you have already, but I know that you have some other thoughts bouncing around up there.
Yeah, so there's a playlist on YouTube. It's called the Pro-Life Primer. I'm going to mention it again. This is not the last time I'm going to bring it up. But I will say new things about it. And that is that we've focus group tested specifically the first 5 videos. And we've seen amazing results. I mean, this is focus grouping among over 1,000, I think, up to 3,000 people that we have surveyed with these videos. And a fifth, it was actually 19%, so almost a fifth of pro-choice women, after seeing one of these videos, said abortion should never be legal.
And initially they said abortion should be available all 9 months, right?
Different stages of availability. But after seeing the video, they said abortion should never be legal. That's a fifth of pro-choice women, okay? And then with the general public that saw these videos, the number of people that said abortion should never be allowed jumped 21 percentage points, okay? So if every American saw these videos, everybody in the churches saw these videos, we would have just a different country. We really would. So please use these resources. They are very effective. And if you want to see people just change their minds live, go to another playlist on YouTube, which is Watch Their Minds Change on Abortion. And you can see tons of man on the street videos that we've done where we ask people, where do you stand on abortion? They say, I'm pro-abortion, I'm pro-choice. Then we show them this 3 to 4 minute video, and afterwards they say, I had no idea what abortion did. This totally challenges my views. This changes my mind. And you can just see it right there. And you can do that. You can go out and show these videos to other people and change their minds. But I would say, first thing, tell your pastor about them and get your pastor to use them in a Sunday school class or something like that.
And Devin, a good chunk of your job is making sure pro-lifers have these resources at their fingertips. What are some of the resources you see move the needle, illuminate the light bulb in their head?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the content that Gabe mentioned, Baby Olivia is a fantastic video. It just shows a baby's development in the womb from fertilization until birth. And the reality is, we've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars in creating this content for you to utilize. And as Gabe mentioned, this content has been proven to change minds, and it's been proven to save lives. And so I think it's critical that we just wanted to equip you with it. It's available to use for free, and it really will change the culture. And I don't think it will take much to push us over the edge in which we're rapidly moving towards a place in which abortion is illegal and women and families and fathers are supported. And so I would just encourage everyone to watch and share that content far and wide.
Yeah, one other simple thing is, if you have a question, DM us at Live Action, right? If you have a question, if you're having a conversation and you're stuck, DM us, because myself and some other people on our marketing team, we go through those and we look and, we'll help you find the answer, or we'll help you find the video, because sometimes it's hard. There's a lot of information out there. It's hard to find exactly what you need, and feel free to reach out and DM us.
And I would say, don't forget about our news site. So liveaction.org, we have a news site. Before I was a news correspondent, I wrote for about 7 years, different articles, and we have some of the best content out there in the pro-life movement. I stand by that 100%. We have amazing team of researchers and writers, and they are talking about current events, so what's happening in politics. We're sharing personal stories, women who've chosen adoption, women who've chosen to parent after rape or really difficult circumstances, children who are born with disabilities, their parents told them to abort, but they chose life instead. So we have these really engaging stories, and they're really beautiful and powerful. So I'm much of a reader, like much more of a reader than I am a watcher. So I love to read articles. And so I would just encourage people to go to liveaction.org and read our news articles.
Yeah, you've heard us mention a lot of resources so far, and I think unanimously we're all really confident with the work that we've done at Live Action to be able to equip yourself. Live Action News, like Christina mentioned, is excellent. You know, it's this issue is complicated. It's not complicated in the fact that we know what we believe, but you know, politically, there's new laws that come out every single day. There's changing laws. There's the abortion pill. You see changes and regulations lifted, et cetera, changing every single day. And as a pro-lifer, it's critical that you stay up to speed. If you're willing to take a stand for life, if you're willing to be bold, like we talked about earlier, you need to be informed and you need to be educated. And I think one of the most important things you can do as a pro-lifer is build that solid foundation. I mean, we have a whole series dedicated. It's called Pro-Life Replies. You watch through that series, and we're going to continue to update it. You'll be prepared to respond to any question that comes up. All of the common arguments that you hear from pro-choicers. But we really pride ourselves in the resources, the quality of those resources, everything that's on there. Every news article is linked to sources that we're confident in, that you can trust. Every video is written by experts and again linked to sources that you can trust. And so we're incredibly confident in that at Live Action, and we hope that you'll check us out. liveaction.org. You can find all of this. You can visit us on any of our social platforms and find that as well. So jumping down here to what is our last written question, but I want to make sure we have an opportunity if there's anything anybody else would like to say. Is really just, why is it important to stand for life in a day when you feel like you could get your head chopped off for just saying just about anything? Why is standing for life in your community, like we talked about, online, like a lot of us have been talking about, why is that such an important thing? Go ahead, Christina.
Because we're talking about human beings. That's what we're talking about. We're not just talking about a cause or just something that we want to do to fight for justice. We're talking about human beings and whether they live or die. I grew up not ever hearing abortion talked about at church, and I grew up never hearing abortion talked about in my home, and going to public school all of my life and only hearing abortion discussed as a woman's right. And that was what I thought. I didn't really know a lot about it, but everything changed for me when I was in college, and I found out that my mom had once scheduled to abort me, and a janitor talked to her in the hospital, and she left the abortion doctor's office after he screamed at her and told her, "You've already paid for this. You're just nervous. You have to stay." But at the 11th hour, which is why it's so important to go to abortion clinics and stand outside. This janitor was inside, but never believe the lie that it's too late, because the women that are there often are undecided even in the last minute, like my mom. So in the 11th hour, my life was saved. And that's my life. And I love my life. And, now I'm married. Now I have a family. I was able to go to college. I was able to do ministry and travel to all sorts of different nations, Mozambique and Nepal and Italy and Holland. In my 20s doing missions work. I was able to go testify before Congress twice. I was in the White House. I met a former president in the Oval Office. Those are just some, cool things that God opened the door for me to do. But I wouldn't have been able to do any of that if I was dismembered and discarded and treated as medical waste, and no one would have ever known my name. And so that's the reality of abortion. It's gruesome, but that's the reality. So it's important for us to stand for life and to speak truth, because children are going to live or die based on what we do and how we stand up or shrink back.
Yeah, and I think the question is, why are we standing for life? And I think the reality is, it might be risky to some friendships or family members, and these are things that you can cross the bridge when you get there. But the reality is, it's the most risky for a baby who has almost 100% chance of dying, and it's critical that we stand in the gap for them. As Savannah mentioned, on the sidewalk side, on social media, these babies are don't have a voice, and so I think a lot of other even marginalized groups can at least speak, right? And these babies are like the most marginalized in our society. They have no ability to speak for themselves, and we are the only ones who can really speak for them, because they can't shout from the womb. And I think that's what we need to be doing, is like shouting for their lives.
Yeah, if every person if every person who said they were pro-life truly believed that there were 2,400 innocent humans killed every day, I think we would be fighting a very different fight. I went to speak last Friday to a group of 50 to 70 younger kids in high school, middle school, high school. And I started out the speech with, did you guys know that there were 2,400 people killed in America today? And they were like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't hear about that. I was like, did you guys hear about that on the news anywhere? They're like, no. And throughout talking to them, they got passionate about it. They were like, these babies shouldn't be killed. It's common sense, guys. Babies should not be killed. And the fact is, there are thousands of innocent humans being killed every day. Why shouldn't we spend our life fighting for that?
What I would say in follow-up is that we can win this. This is winnable. I mean, that's one of the things that's so exciting about this, is that we really can save lives and we can make abortion illegal and unthinkable in this country, and we have the resources to do it. And I mean, we see every day comments on our graphics, our articles, our videos that say, this changed my mind on abortion. This is totally winnable. And so that's the first thing I would say. And the second thing I would say is that, yes, babies are being murdered, but abortion has so many impacts, even beyond that, to our society that are so destructive. I mean, I just heard a atheist feminist. She was pro-choice, but she said that when pregnancy became a biological choice for women, so when abortion became, available, fatherhood became a social choice for men. And she's pro-choice, and she's saying this, right? And she's basically saying, look, you have abortion and fatherlessness go hand in hand. It destroys the family. And, sometimes people talk about, like, well, what about the economy? And what about all these other problems that we're dealing with in society? The pillar of our society is healthy families, and abortion destroys the family. And just one more statistic to prove this, a staggering 86% of abortions are to women who are unmarried. 86%. And so, a last thing that we need to do as part of this discussion is we really need to recover our sexual ethics in this country. And we need to put sex where it belongs, in marriage. And to save lives and to save families and to create a happier society.
Yeah, and I'll add this, just hearing what you shared really made me think about a debate that Live Action founder Lila Rose did. I think it was Ellen Fisher's podcast with a woman from a group, or she had a blog, I think, that was God is Gray. But in that, it surfaced a lot of things that I think many people within the church think or talk about, specifically, there are so many issues out there. There's so many human rights violations. There's so many, America is not a perfect nation itself. There's so many broken things, broken families, broken relationships. And we feel the burden to fix all of those things, as we should. Those are all horrible things, and it needs the church's attention. It needs the individual's attention. But part of it is if we can't start with life, and if we can't acknowledge the life of these innocent children, then it's difficult to get beyond that. And it's a both and. All of these things, again, they need to be fixed, and no individual, no churchgoer should feel the pressure to resolve all of that on their own. It's up to this church community. It's up to your community. And it really does. It starts with life. Such a critical piece and such a critical component. And, like Devin said, I echo all of the comments of the brilliant team that we have up here. If we don't take a stand, if we don't shout, there's nobody to do that. So, Christine.
And, fighting for babies in the womb and fighting for women and families, they go hand in hand. So when people say you only care about saving a baby in the womb, if you've ever counseled a woman who's considering an abortion, you would know how foolish that statement is, because how do you help a woman who's considering an abortion? You help her by figuring out if she has shelter, if she needs housing. You help her by giving her resources, whether that's maternity clothes, diapers, a crib, a car seat, throwing a baby shower for her. You help her by helping her get a job or making sure that she has food in her refrigerator to feed the kids that she may already have at home. I've been working just this past month with 2 abortion-minded young Black women who are really on their own. And what you said about fathers, Gabe, is so true, because one of them just yesterday met with the father of the child to have a conversation, and he wasn't really that excited about the fact that she's pregnant because they're no longer together. But he said, I'm not the type to just, walk away. And that really made all the difference. Even just him saying that he's going to be there in some measure made all the difference, because just a couple days before she was saying, I have to abort because I'm not going to bring this child into the world without the dad being there. And so dads do make such a difference. But to really help a woman and help save the life of her child, you have to, meet her needs. So they go hand in hand. And if you are authentic about loving children, you're going to be authentic about loving women, loving fathers, and loving families. And that will impact our entire society. It'll help us to become a more whole, less broken society.
Yeah, and one last quick thing I would add is I've never talked to a woman, I'm sure you would echo this, I've never talked to a woman who is considering getting an abortion and kept her baby, who later on said that she wished she had an abortion, right? I've talked to women who would call me every single week after their baby was born, crying, saying, thank you for helping me find the resources to have my baby. It's just it's so beautiful. It's so rewarding, because you have a tiny part in helping this child to have life, and then you get to see what this child's going to do in their life. It's such a beautiful thing.
That really is. I have to say that I love scrolling through my Facebook feed, and I'm seeing the babies, because I used to work for 4 years at a pregnancy resource center. And so I counseled women, considering abortion. And so now I'm scrolling through my Facebook and I'm seeing, oh, this baby just celebrated Christmas, but she's 5, and this one's, 4, and it's amazing. And then they're going to grow up and they're going to have children, God willing. And then it's, it's a whole generational line that comes forth. It's not just you're saving that one child, but you're saving their grandchildren and their great grandchildren. So it's really phenomenal when you get to be a part of something like that.
That's amazing. And we'll say it again, all sorts of resources at liveaction.org. Be prepared. We have some church curriculum using that pro-life primer that Gabe's talked about that's going to complement everything at Stand for Life really well, that you could use to, whether you're a pastor, whether you're a churchgoer, you can use this within your church community, so keep an eye out.
Yeah, please tell your congregations, get your pastor to tell everybody in your church to follow us on all of our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and sign up for our Live Action News emails. I mean, that will equip you and train you to win.
Well, that's what it's all about. Well, in our last few minutes here, I just want to make sure if there's an opportunity that you weren't able to address in one of these questions that popped up, if there's one thing you want to leave this audience with, folks hungry to learn more about life, passionate about Christ, is there anything that you want to make sure we say that we haven't already?
I think just be bold that you are on the right side of history here. And this pro-life reply series, in which we're sharing how to respond to different pro-choice arguments, we've had to revamp this series like multiple times, because their arguments are so shaky that they're like creating new arguments every day. And so before it was like my body, my choice, as if this basically it was before it was like my body, my choice, and then we ignored the humanity of this baby. Now they realize this is a baby and I'm okay with killing it. And so I think they're just being more clear about their stance. And I think we just be even more confident in the reality, like abortion kills an innocent human being, and therefore it's wrong. And so we should stand proudly on that fact that, God loves life, and, he knit every child in the womb. And Satan loves nothing more than to kill these children that God fashioned with a purpose before they're even able to enter the world. And so I would just encourage you to just be confident, and I think God will give you the grace and the confidence to speak out on this issue.
And just a couple more concrete things. Follow Christina specifically on social media, and follow Lila Rose as well. because they are both going to share more great content. So make sure that you're following Live Action, Christina, and Lila Rose, and I think we have some other people as well. I'm not exactly sure who.
You can get all plugged in on Live Action, but I think that's a great start, and yeah, continue to fuel that passion.
I want to say two things quickly. One, don't be afraid to, stand alone. You won't be alone forever. But even right now, I'm the only person in my family that would, my mom is pro-life too, but I'm the only person that would, publicly say I'm pro-life and that, votes with, pro-life, considers pro-life cause when I'm voting. I'm the only person who does that in my entire family. And so I've obviously had a lot of moments where people are talking about me, or I know that I'm the odd person out, but that's okay because God sends other people. So he sent so many people to walk with me over the past, 18 or so years that I've been doing pro-life work. So don't be afraid to stand alone. God will help you find community. And then the second thing I would say is that if you want to do this for your whole life, you can. If you want to do this, when I started becoming pro-life, I didn't know a single person in the pro-life movement. I didn't know of a pro-life movement. I couldn't have identified any person in the pro-life movement. I never went to a march. My parents never took me outside of an abortion clinic. Again, it was never talked about in my home. So I totally went into a world that I knew nothing of, and I just jumped right in because God asked me a question, which was, well, he told me that I wanted you, Christina, but then the question was, how do you think I feel about the others? And so I jumped in to figure it out. But now that I've been in for almost 20 years, I've really seen the way that God sustained me. Even when I worked for, nonprofits in my 20s, I had no money. God gave me 3 cars. 3 people came up to me and were like, God wants me to give you this car or give you the tens of thousands of dollars to buy a car. Even the house that I'm living in, the person who owns it, I met her because of pro-life work. I was doing a pro-life talk, and then I met the daughter. Then the mom was like, okay, I'm going to make this work for you. We couldn't exactly afford the house, but she was like, I'm going to make this work because I feel like God wants you to live here. So I could go on and on. I don't have the time to, but God will sustain you. If you feel called to do this work for your entire life, he will make a way for you to do that. You just have to be faithful, and you have to be obedient, and you have to be courageous. And if you feel afraid, live by the Joyce Meyer quote, which is what I live by, especially when I fly on planes, because that scares me so much, which is do it afraid. Don't wait for the fear to go away. Just do it afraid. And as you do that, God will meet you there.
One audience I think we should address is those women and those men who are post-abortive. Right. And I think the first thing that we should say is just the gospel. That is, we are all sinners before God. We have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But God loves us, forgives us, restores us, heals us, and there is forgiveness for everybody. And ultimately, we are all at fault, and we are all responsible for the problem of abortion. And God forgives us all on the same playing field. And I would love to hear from you specifically, Christina, more about just addressing, post-abortive women and post-abortive men, with resources. I'll just say a couple video resources that we have. We recently released a series called Can't Stay Silent, which features the stories of women who regret their abortions and are sharing their stories. And Rachel's Vineyard, I think, is a resource that we continually point women to, which is a great resource. And but yeah, Christina, I would love.
Yeah, Rachel's Vineyard's awesome. They're Catholic, so if you're Catholic, that's probably a great fit for you. And they do retreats and everything else. I really like Support After Abortion. I think they've got great social media. They're on Instagram and everything else, but they also have counseling, and you can call them and they can give you resources. They'll walk you through your healing process. A lot of pregnancy resource centers will also do various Bible studies. Forgiven and Set Free is one of them. And there's a bunch of different books online too, but I would start with either Rachel's Vineyard, Support After Abortion, or going to your local pregnancy center. But start somewhere. Just talk to someone about it, even if you've never, shared it and you want to talk to one of us. If you wanted to message me on social media, I've had women talk to me who, their hair is gray, and they say, I had this abortion 30 plus years ago, and they have tears in their eyes. So you may be thinking, well, that was so long ago, but if you're still in pain, it's not too late to get healing.
I would just say one thing on kind of a different note to any of the young women out there. Don't be afraid to live counterculturally. And I would recommend read Lila Rose's book, Fighting for Life, because I've had people come up to me and say, well, I'm just a teenage girl. Like, I recognize that abortion is wrong, but like, I haven't had an abortion. Like, I don't have a story to share. How am I supposed to be involved? Read Lila Rose's book, because she was a young girl who saw an evil. She saw what broke her heart, and she devoted her life to ending that. And that is just such a beautiful thing. There's nothing more beautiful than living counterculturally, because like Devin said, we know that we're standing on the truth, right? We know that what we're speaking is the truth. And so when people come at us with these arguments, with these attacks on our person, we know that shouldn't faze us, right? Because we have God on our side, and it really is the most beautiful way to live.
Well, thank you all. And, my parting words here, I think a lot of folks in church, they think abortion is a topic that should never be addressed. Live Action specifically, we're non-religious. You probably get a sense of the faith of all of the team members up here, but we're non-political. But we know, there are allies in certain courts there. But this is a human rights issue, and just like at the back of a lot of the, for me growing up, there was a table at the back. You could sponsor a child. You can, there's all these different things that you could do as the church steps up and the church gets involved, even when it's not specifically spreading the gospel, but they see these human rights issues and abuses, and they step up. This is no different, and it's not political. It's not, I think it is the job of the church to step up when you see something like this, but it's not a religious argument. I think a lot of pro-lifers, and we address a lot of this, yes, it's attached to your faith, but it's also completely separate. We talked all day about how it's the killing of an innocent human being, and yes, we're all made in the image of God, and we have this inherent dignity, and why we come to some of these conclusions may be different, but it's not a religious argument, and so it absolutely it needs to be taken by the church. And there was a comment up here about if just these people spoke up, abortion would be over. Well, if 10% of the church, if 50% of the church spoke up, this would be a non-issue. This would be over. And so let's make that happen. Equip your church, empower them, encourage them to speak up at your church, speak up in your community, be bold, stand for life. Check out all the different resources that we've shared, and we'll continue to keep you up to speed. We'll continue to keep you resourced. You'll hear more from all of us, and we're just so grateful to be a part of everything going on at Stand for Life. Encouraged to see the church continue to step up, and grateful for this opportunity. So thank you so much.